my last two questions. Number one, what does a utopia or a promised land or a future perfect Africa look like? And then in closing, I'd like you to maybe indulge myself and whoever's going to be listening on the farmers of thought and African indigenous systems and where people can dive into literature that can awaken them.
Okay. I'll start with the last one.
Okay.
The Farmers of Thought. Please log in on Farmers of Thought Reading Club or Reading Club FOT. That is on Telegram. I've put a beautiful library there. Personally selected books by myself. That will include anti-Diop books, Kemetic books, the books of the dead. I've included the writings of Osoyinke, Chinua Achebe. I've included the Kwame Nkrumah's few treaties, the whole development of an African narrative. These are purely Credo. Yes, I've got whatever these free libraries that are on the internet where you enroll, then you're able to download some few books.
Yes.
So it's quite legal. The books are there. You can read as much as you want. And I think some other people have already started downloading some of them, keep them as a library. Because I've created that as a growing space for the young people so that we can just develop this IKS. But over and above that information, I don't want again to put too much emphasis on that because it's written one generation before us. These are the books that are written from now, but going backwards. But the dynamics we're now seeing, we're also looking for young, new authors who can begin to populate that space. So even if a Pan-Walism book will be available, these are the kind of, because education is not static. Anyone who says he's educated and graduated in 1975, come on, go home and sleep. You can't even tell us we're educated. Those books we're studying were written in 1920. It's a defunct system. So it's not even, so there is a space we're creating for that kind of learning.
IKS, Indigenous Knowledge Systems. Telegram, Farmers of Thought.
No, it's not, it's just actually called FOT Reading Club, which is
FOT Reading Club.
FOT Reading Club, yes. Okay. But if they have a problem, they can always link up with us on our WhatsApp groups and stuff, and we can channel them there. And so learning is progressive, and we have also broken some few WhatsApp groups where those who want to do agriculture, those who want to do farming, again, to start creating those parallel systems. I was in Mpumalanga last week speaking to some of the kings and chiefs there. We might be getting a huge piece of land.
Beautiful.
Where we can build a shrine, build a temple, do our own agricultural processes, and build a resort. Like most of the retreat center.
When churches are used correctly, they are absolutely magical. They become schools, they become farms.
It's a place you take off your shoes there. I will do things the way I know they must be done. My way.
We'll get to walk around naked like savages.
Not like
live with the nature, like in Avatar.
I want to create just a space of, the detoxification, a full detoxification. So if you're an executive, you're stressed, you are what. I'm not saying there's medicine and etc., but it's a healing space where water and other acceptable forms of alternative healing must be available. But above it, it's a place where you can center yourself. And we've already identified 2-3 pieces of land, which we are talking to right now. And maybe on the next show, in the next couple of months, we might be talking of, we must take some tents. Immediately they give me that thing. We must take some tents and be the first ones and go and do a live broadcast. There's a beautiful river there, that flows by, and a nice mountain on the side. And we need to get there and actually start creating this content. And it will be nice for your audience and my audience to grow with us as history is beginning to become part of that history. And those who want to contribute with construction, with donations, create a dormitory, it's named after you, create a building, we name it after you, so that there's ownership. So you can also write your name on the epitaphs of history. It would be nice to have a Pan-Walism hall also there, where your teachings and your knowledge systems can also be preserved there. I know I will have a Credo Mutua village also in space. I will pick up the African spiritualists in a certain sense so that we can give people a holistic supermarket shelf sort of understanding African spirituality. So it doesn't just become as a Maponga J, a Farmers of Thought thing. But I'm also standing on the shoulders. I had the privilege of working with Babu Credo. I've worked with Babu Nsingisa. I've worked with other spiritual, Bogogo, Dineo, and the rest of them. Bogogo, Skoteni, controversial as they are, Bogogo Maweni, and we are in the same Same space. So yeah, on the F40, the reading club, I think I stopped there. The other question was?
Thank you. The other one was about a utopia. Sorry, I'm going to try and find this queen's name. They've built an African school in KZN. I just haven't had a chance to visit. And I know I owe her a sit down as well, where they've gone fully alternative for African children. And these are the things we need to learn from. And even sitting with Oskote and Nomawe, and it's because we're all learning, we're all trying to awaken. DJ Sbu as well, Mkhulu Nsingeza, as you said, learning from Credo Muto, etc. The space in Mpumalanga, Nzalo Yelanga. Those are all the spaces we need to learn from.
Have you been there?
Building. I haven't been there. I was supposed to go.
Have you been to Sodwala?
I've Sodwala.
Sodwala Caves.
I have, yes.
Okay, then Sodwala there is Nzalo Yelanga. You also have lots of sacred sites, beautiful sites.
You want to travel from Cape to Cairo? I hope I can join you, because for me it's going to be selfish.
You do what you can.
I want to spend a lot of time with you, because you owe me. I'm saying this, but it's not true. You owe me from a conversation we've had to give me the tools to build systems similar to theological religious systems for penalism to thrive. Okay. Because I want to copy or borrow from some of those systems that have worked. Like I said, when a church is used right, becomes a daycare center, a school, aftercare space, there's a garden outside, it's a place of refuge, it's a healing center. The second question was your vision.
Utopia.
Because you're an artist, you're a visionary, you can draw, you can paint. Moses sold the story to the Israelites of the promised land, and he assimilated to the Egyptians in committing atrocities to free the people. What does a utopia, an African utopia, look like in your mind's eye?
Let me start off with the grave. The utopia I see is Africans using 30-40% of the land for commercial and living and agriculture, and the other 70% being allowed to recover and create a sustainable. We don't need to produce more. We don't need to farm more. We need to process more. We need to manufacture more. So instead of us looking at 300,000 hectares of wheat, and so many kilometers of coal that we must dig up from, maybe we need to dig a little bit and produce what is needed. So the processing concept I'm talking about will right now drive from Wheatbank into the whole place is being dug up.
Yeah. But Malango, Sekunda, those areas.
And we don't need to dig up everything.
Yes.
And these are irreplaceable resources.
Correct.
And we dig less, process more. Then we can also sell final products. We will still make 100 times more.
Correct.
Than we are doing right now with raw material.
Yeah.
So the utopia that I have is when Africa stops being a producer of raw materials, but rather being a distributor of final products. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, I look at a new Africa where on top of every grave we'll no longer be burying people in coffins and metal boxes, but we'll create for these people beautiful cloth and biodegradable materials. And we bury people in a conception position. And on top
the Zulus used to do that, from what I know.
On top of every grave, we plant a tree, fruit trees. It would be nice to create these sacred forests where you would visit your father's grave and you can pick up avocados on top of his grave and go home and eat with your children. Birds will return. Animals would fly back. I see in Africa again where children can go back to the river and drink waters from the river. I see in Africa where our houses will not be concrete jungles of square rooms, but our indigenous architecture. You guys who have gone to school and have done engineering, are you telling me after 60, 80 years of running engineering institutions like Wits and Johannesburg, none of you has been able to pick up a Zulu hat and create a commercial building out of that architecture and technology? Study it. Understand it. Then bring it to class. Understand the materials and build new cities. See how beautiful they look. Imagine driving into this place, which is a dome-shaped Zulu hut in terms of design. And the elements that have been fitted into the house are both ethnic, organic. Is this not the new world they're talking about an organic world, going green?
Eco-friendly.
How can we go green when we are in square houses that are full of paint and etc.? And we are talking about asthma when people are smelling all these chemicals that are on the walls. So maybe I see a new Africa where children will not be vaccinated, where we vaccinate them the natural way. I see a new Africa where women will deliver children naturally.
Yes.
On a birth stool. No more cutting our women's tummies and etc. And women are delivering correctly. I see a new space where men will be sitting around discussing what to do with the wealth that they have in their own spaces, looking after their own estates. I see a new Africa where seasons are changing and drums are playing and kudu horns are sounding on the mountainside and people are chanting together and have weekends out renewing and maybe drive back to their own places of work. I see a symbiosis where a man is driving back from his village and his boot is full of organic foods to come back and live in his own space and grow up his children. I see a new Africa where universities are no longer just teaching us William Shakespeare and teaching us Tudor Bismarck and the wars of the Bolsheviks. I see a new Africa where we sit down and study panwellism. Let's go to town and study the development of African ideology, comparisons and vigorous mental transformative. I see a new Africa where young men should be able to pursue and build the legacy that his father has given him. And you go to school to study as to how do you transform this to become a better institutions. Where one day you'll stand and say, my grandfather used to be this. My grandfather was this. My father was this. I am this. I see a new Africa where legacies and generations will grow from each other. I see a new Africa where we won't need passports to drive and walk around this entire continent. But we can retrace our steps. And it no longer becomes an ideology. But we can have pilgrimages into the Great Sese Islands, into the plains of the Serengeti, into the Victoria Islands, and drink our waters from the Great Nile River, and re-admire the million wild beasts that are walking past into the fertile crescent of Mount Kilimanjaro and etc. Retracing our steps, those that came from the north, those that walked through the center, and those that walked through the south, retracing our steps. What's your name? My name is Ngelengele. Ngelengele kabani kabungana. Upungana kabani upungana kachitikulu mimi hiyo mabele mashe mahle. Babuya pi babase Angola, and I see people beginning to move. And if Ngelengele in South Africa bungane wants to go and live in Angola amongst the fellow bunganes there, he should be able to do that. In as much as Nkima and Ngube wants to go back and live in Uganda, it must be possible because people are not like goats. Those who love wetlands will go back to wetlands. Those who love mountains will go back to the mountains. Those who love the deserts should go back to the deserts. And I see a new Africa where power will no longer be on the top side, but communities through totems are able to set themselves up into communities. One currency, one army, one passport, one educational system. And here we are in the new Africa where 54 countries have now become one country. If America did it, Europe has done it into the European Union. India and China are enjoying the benefits of numbers. The sheer joining of 54 countries will give Africa 1.8 billion short start of life, a marketplace where we can produce and consume our products and create the economy that we want, not according to the standards of the West, but growing at the pace at which we want. Because creating a concrete jungle is not the Africa that we want. Because if we make Africa another Manhattan, we make Africa another London, we make Africa another Amsterdam or Tokyo, what quality of water are we going to be drinking? What quality of food are we going to be eating? What quality of air are we going to be breathing? So civilization must not run ahead of ecological intelligence, because concrete jungle are a breeding ground of disease and greed. The real Africa we're talking about is a place where humanity is living in harmony with nature. I'll share a paper with you I wrote, The Seventh Industrial Revolution, entitled 7IR. The Bushman, the Hottentot, and the Aborigines are living in 7IR. No need for a hospital, no need for a school, no need for nothing. Where we build nothing, own nothing, but have everything. I thank you.
Joshua Maponga, thank you so much for visiting us on The Panel Show. Yep. Mfundisi wa 30 years.
He wanted me to dream, so I started dreaming.
That's why I do
what you can dream on. Yeah.
7th Industrial Revolution. Thank you so much.
Si chahile land ya makonkri. Si chahile ufaka makonkol na makonkol. Maybe we need to create new villages where literally people can live in their traditional indigenous homes.
That's what I
and
want.
They can enjoy the services.
People think it's inappropriate because I've got a name for it.
It's much healthier.
My human preservation farms, HPFs, where people plug out of capitalism and go and live as naturally as possible without disturbance.
That's important.
Yeah, but people call me names when I suggest
But
it.
this is what I'm going to be doing now, creating this village. It's a space where you can experience it first. Because
we're going to wait for white people to create spaces like that and make them cool, and then everyone's going to want them.
Yeah.